My name is Steve Lewis. I'm the Associate Director of Habitat for Humanity in Williamson County and have been the Associate Director since 2006. Williamson County Habitat for Humanity has built 132 homes here since 1996 actually. And we worked with Bill Allen starting in 2007 with the idea of building 46 homes during that time. And we actually built 45 homes of that goal. So Williamson County is a very affluent county. One of the main things we spend a lot of time doing is talking to people about why Habitat even exists in Williamson County. We serve a lot of folks that are in support-oriented jobs, people who who drive the buses and school buses, and people who work at changing people's oil in their car, people that work at nursing homes and change the sheets and what have you. So our goal is to keep as many people, hardworking families as possible in Williamson County because of the value of homes. It's difficult for a person to begin to be a homeowner in our county because of the high cost of a starter home. Back in 2006, we were in a position where we needed to change our image here in Williamson County. And so I visited with a gentleman in Cobb County, Georgia named John Kerwood. And John at that time had worked with Bill Allen on I think more than one occasion at that time, has worked with him several times since then. But John convinced me that it was worth a gamble, if you will, to give Bill a chance to come and talk to our board and then see if he might be of service in helping us to, first of all, do a feasibility study, and then secondly, to help us raise the funds to build the houses that we wanted to build. With Bill, we didn't do a whole lot of extra work in trying to recruit, if you will, another company. We did spend a lot of time talking to him before we actually brought him on board, and it was again a multiple phase process, one of which we did the feasibility study, but then you're given the opportunity to then let him be involved with the ask, if you will. When Bill came in, the first thing he did was work with us on a strategic plan to establish some parameters, some goals, things that we wanted to accomplish in terms of number of homes and families to serve, but also how we want to be viewed in the community. But that worked hand in glove at the same time with the feasibility study, and that was when he was out calling on many folks. He had an individual who would call and set appointments with some of our existing customers as well as some new customers. And I say customers, we use the term sponsors. And in that process, he learned things we needed to adapt to and things we needed to change. And it also piqued interest in terms of people understanding what Habitat's all about. Interestingly, there's a lot of people who have a little bit of knowledge about Habitat, but then they don't have a great deal of knowledge, and he helped make that a little easier for people to grab hold of and find out, what exactly does Habitat for Humanity of Williamson County do. So in that process, Bill came up and did indeed visit with 90 different people throughout the city, including city officials and people who had worked with us in the past, and ask a battery of questions about things that pertain to Habitat and feelings that they had about Habitat. And in the process, we learned that we needed to change the way our houses looked, away from the vinyl siding look that we had to a more craftsman style look. So we did that. We also learned that we needed to be a little easier to work with in terms of our volunteer experience, so we made some adjustments, we made some staffing changes, and all that came about because of Bill's feasibility study. And then later on, he came back and we decided to hire him to help us raise the money that we raised during that time that he was involved with us. Bill's process is pretty simple, and as he sets appointments for fundraising asks, he likes to have someone from our staff to go, and that was the role that I played, as I went with him to many of these meetings and sat in to be the continuity, if you will, from when he would depart and we would take over the process. So he did a good job in teaching us how to go about asking folks for money after the fact. Many of our existing board members, even today, are folks that came on board per his efforts and we asked them to come on our board so that they could get more involved and kind of be there to see how the money was used that they had committed to Habitat for Humanity of Williamson County. So it was a good process. It's one that can be duplicated over and over again, as I know John Kerwood has done down in Cobb County, because he can come back and reestablish those relationships because of the good job he did with those folks on the front end. And what happened is that we spent a lot of time, almost a year of his time, where he would come into our community and actually stay and would call on folks. I would go with him and be involved in the asking process as we turned the feasibility study into a fundraising event. We raised about $1.8 million. The good news is that during that time, everyone will remember the recession hit. So we were blessed by having the opportunity to see people make four-year commitments to help support Habitat. So when a lot of things fell away, people continued to say, "Look, we're going to continue because we promised that we would commit to help you." So therefore, that's the reason why we were able to build 45 of the 46 houses that we originally thought we were hoping to build, because of that four-year commitment and because of the work that he put in coming up. So that's kind of the history of how we came to know Bill. The amount of money that we raised in the process was about $1.8 million. And again, that sustained us for several years. Our sponsorships back at that time were $60,000 a piece for each house that we built. We have since raised that, as most people have with inflation and what have you. But back in those days, that helped us build many houses. And we had several organizations who committed to building a house a year. There were some folks who committed to building a half a house a year. So he had some flexibility in terms of what he asked people to commit to. And the good news is they had flexibility as well in terms of how they could support us. Bill's training mainly was just by us shadowing him and watching him in action. All the letters that he sent, much of the material that he presented, he put up together a brochure for us to present. We were able to use those tools for some time. We've actually have a new version of that brochure, but we use a lot of his ideas, a lot of his language in terms of going into a new phase after the 2011 when the program actually stopped. I think the board and staff were pleased with Bill's work. The testimony to that is the fact that several of those folks, I can think of 4 to 5 that had been on our board that were parts of organizations that he reached out to. So I don't think they would have come to be on our board had they not been pleased with the process and how he went about asking for the funds and how he set up the program. Again, the biggest thing that we did, other than the funding, we had to change the way our houses looked and the way we worked with the community. And that was all a product of his time with those out in the community and with the people who were now on our board, and establishing some parameters and some talking points, if you will, for us as we went about growing the affiliate. The biggest challenge I think that would have happened is that because of the timing of when we worked with Bill, we really needed his expertise, because we were not prepared for the recession, as most people weren't, that we all went through. But where some affiliates actually dropped back in terms of the number of families they were able to serve and the homes that they were able to build, we established not only the status quo, but we actually were able to grow a few houses in the process. And again, we met our goal, or just missed it by one house. And quite frankly, that's something that we're extremely happy and proud of, because it came at a time when a lot of people just would not have been able to accomplish that. So we were pleased with that and excited about that, and that's given us the necessary momentum for us now to look at opportunities to build even more homes and increase our volume of service as we go forward. The question is of hiring Bill again is always an easy question to answer. We would hire Bill again. We're at a point where in the near future we're going to need to do some capital fundraising, and we would certainly entertain having Bill come in and lead us through that process. because of the relationship he has with some of the members of our board. I think there is a receptive attitude and opportunity for him to come in, and we will certainly keep him close at hand, if you will. Bill is the good thing is that he's been not only a good business partner, but he's been developed a good friendship with many of us because of the way he's gone about doing his work and establishing workable relationships with the affiliates that he's had an opportunity to serve.